a dedicated YouTuber, Matt. He's part of the team. He's pushing out content daily. Um, Obviously, our sacrifice stage. We can't like that's the biggest thing that's happening right now. There's 2.5 days of flat rate left in the sacrifice phase before the rate starts decreasing. Okay, so that's a big deal. Um, Pushing out content on Twitter, educating people in the Telegram. Um, there is something that I would like the community to start looking at a little bit more. And we're going to start pushing some of this stuff out. Liquidloans.io/learn. Okay, liquidloans.io/learn. And what we have in there is articles. Okay, they're written by us, they're written from the team. Um, let's just go through some of the names. How do redemptions work inside the Liquid Loans protocol? Well, you'll see it's like a news article that kind of explains how that works. Why is Pulse Chain forking Ethereum? Liquid Loans, the Pulse Chain community bank. Why is Liquid Loans a game changer? What are stable coins? Is Pulse Chain the Ethereum killer or the Ethereum saver? And more. There's more. There's all sorts of stuff in there. Why Pulse Chain is a bigger deal than you may realize. Why you never have to sell your crypto. Up to 40% APR with extremely low risk. Here's how. So there's just a lot of different articles in there that I think some people may find interesting. Now these are just a complement, of course, our white paper and our knowledge section.
Yeah.
But this learn section is written more like a news article sort of thing, so that when people have questions out in the community, sometimes if you just give them a white paper or a segment inside the white paper, they even though the white paper isn't too technical, like it's boring, right? So what we've done is we've built this learning section that just reads just like a newspaper, right? It's just story. It just tells you the story and says this and this is how this works. There's some pictures and graphics and stuff in there that go along with it. So some people prefer to learn in that fashion.
And
So I
Jesse, one of my
invite people
questions
to,
for you, brother, is so
yeah,
we've seen a lot of work from you guys. You guys have been really consistent when it comes from when it comes to social media, talking and
right.
connecting with the community. I think that's one of the reasons why you guys are probably one of the most trusted projects out. Well, not out yet, but to launch on
Right.
Pulse Chain. And my biggest question is, brother, for those individuals who are looking at just a Pulse Chain project, yours in particular, and asking themselves, why should I trust this project, right? I don't know if you've
Yeah.
noticed, but in the community, there's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy because it's not really controversial, but there's a lot of back and forth going between community members and,
Yeah.
sacrificing for projects that aren't related to Richard Hart,
Yeah. So
right?
I'll talk. So you've got a couple questions in there. Let me,
Yeah, no, let me go ahead and like ask the overall
well,
question because it's I
okay,
know
go
it
ahead.
does scope between like this whole thing kind of going on, but the real question I want you to answer is why why should someone trust liquid loans, right? Why would someone trust liquid loans particularly over any other project?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of any other project, right? Every team is built differently.
Correct.
It helps to understand why we built the team the way we did. Okay. So we came up in the Hex community, in the Pulse Chain community, PulseX community, and we noticed that we needed something that would benefit the ecosystem. Okay. Now, when we formed our team, you'll notice that we have a broad range of skills. A lot of other teams, all they are develop like look at a lot of major projects in crypto. And what you'll find is a handful of devs, and that's all there is. They launch some code, they hang out in a Telegram room, and maybe they post a couple tweets, and that's it, right? And good code isn't what makes a project good. Good code and a good team that has a broad range of skills is what pushes a project from being okay to being amazing. All right. So let me give you an example. We decided we needed a full time YouTuber,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who could educate every day. It's not going to be every day forever, but uh, several times a week. bring on guests from other communities, share and host, and bring the community together in the education efforts for Pulse Chain. With, of course, it coming from Liquid Loans, right?
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of crypto protocols that have a dedicated YouTube feed where they're doing this. So we've done that. We've brought in a great team of admins that all has their own skills, right? That are good with social media, content delivery, to organizing some of the stuff on the background that happens in the telegrams, whatever the case may be. We have people spread out all over the place with the goal of bringing people to the Pulse Chain community, right? We're not just a little group of devs that sit at our computers and type away. We have those, but we have so much more than that. We are literally a community that's trying to drive adoption to the Pulse Chain, right? So people need to consider that. When you're looking at a team, it's not just the guy that wrote the code. It's the entire team behind it. And what are their experiences to make the world aware of that code? Okay? Why can you trust us? Everyone has to come to that conclusion themselves.
Right.
What I can say is there are a lot of protocols out there that will charge some sort of interest or won't be immutable. Will have admin keys to the code and can change the code at any time. That are highly centralized. They're subject to government regulations because of the type of stablecoin that they're using. That has counterparty risk. There's protocols that have all the things that we don't like in crypto that will then also siphon money out of a community. This protocol here allows you to, first off, it's none of those things. It's completely immutable. There's no counterparty. There's no centralization. Even the front ends are not centrally hosted interfaces. They're anybody can run a front end. So everything about it is completely decentralized. So then you ask yourself, well, is that enough to make a project good?
Yeah.
Right? Having all the core principles that we've heard, does that alone make it good? We've heard for years that crypto was invented to get rid of middlemen. So when you do that, is that good enough to make a project succeed? No. Simply having a code that has no middlemen doesn't mean it's good enough to succeed. You also need a team of people that can constantly push and educate people the entire time, right? So we've combined the best of both worlds. We've got a protocol that allows you to never sell your best appreciating asset, collateralize against it, so you can still get value out as necessary. And then it also keeps all the money inside of our home community, because these people who are not selling their Pulse, there's a fee to do that, and the fee gets paid to the stakers. What are the stakers comprised of right now? Well, obviously, this is a Pulse community. We are seeing, it's tremendous. We're actually seeing people flow in who don't know what Hex is, who have never heard of Pulse Chain, and they're starting to show up in our Telegram saying, what's Liquid Loans? And what we have to do is say, well, here's how it all evolved. And here's what Pulse Chain is all about. And here's what this protocol does. So it is growing. But at the moment, it is a majority of people who are from the Pulse Chain community.
Right.
So what does that mean for the early people in this protocol who could potentially have the lion's share of ownership of this protocol? Well, because it's existing Pulse Chain community, that means all of the fees that come in from here for the rest of all time is primarily getting fed all to the community that we already know. The friends, the Telegram people we hang out with, the people from the Hex community are all going to be collecting on these fees. And what do those people like to purchase? They like to purchase Hex. They like to purchase PulseX, or they will like to purchase PulseX. They're going to be pumping some of this right back into the protocol and shoring it up. And all the meanwhile, people are not going to be selling their Pulse. So it's extremely, extremely healthy for the ecosystem that's being built right now for this protocol to exist and be community owned by the same community.
Yeah, I agree. That is very important. The fact that you guys are not only creating the actual protocols yourself, but you're a part of the community, which I think was the biggest part. And you're super easy to reach out to. Like anybody that has a question, you guys can literally get in touch with. And yeah, that's one thing I can definitely attest to. You guys have always been super communicative when it comes down to the transparency and the information you guys want to give out, and when you can give it out, which is even more important.
Right.
One thing I can highlight, bro, and I think it's a really good thing because I personally I'm biased here because I support the project. But what I would say is the fact that you guys in your actual launching of the information and the website and everything, you guys have been very selective with what you say, how you say it, and that's something
we have to.
Very, very important too, because you don't want people just out here saying, certain things about the project before the project launches. And you can tell also from Richard's way of being so particular about how he speaks on what he does, that you guys have that same quality and that same attention to detail when it comes down to sharing your project and what its purpose is. And especially now that we're going through the sacrifice phase, which is one of the most important parts for the project, things are, and like you said, like how you mentioned, things are going smooth. And that's a really good thing to see as well. So let's kind of get into that. I know right now we are closer to the final day in which you will start to see that change in rate for the sacrifice phase. What's the date again? We have about 2 more days on the 28th.
Yeah, so it's about 2 days and probably 18 some hours from now.
Oh, okay. All right. I see someone's telling me that they can barely hear me. Let me know if my audio gets a little better here, guys. I appreciate that. We are seeing some questions here, man. So let's go ahead and take some. Unfortunately, I can't put them up on the screen for you guys, but I will read them out. The first question I have here is, when exactly will we be able to test out the protocol after mainnet launch? That one comes from Mr. A.
We'll have to see, because when testnet v3 comes out, hopefully we can see a working PulseX on testnet v3. Our protocol exists on v2 right now. Jexa Hex Safe on YouTube has a video where he walks people through where he's using the protocol on testnet v2, right? He's demonstrating it. Once testnet v3 comes out and then we launch on testnet v3, we'll be one step closer, right? We're always one little step behind, Pulse Chain. Everything Pulse Chain does, we're one little step behind in our timeline, because we have to see those things like PulseX exist for us to be able to integrate with them, right? So we'll see what happens with testnet v3, and if we're able to get something out to the community at that point, then we will.
Perfect. Another question.
Right now, it's a little. It's just a little. The user. Here's a dilemma, because this question comes out a lot. People say, "Well, why not? Why not? Why not?" Well, we really wanted to. We can't wait for people to use the interface, the dApp, and play around with it. Okay. And some people say, "Well, why not sacrifice after or before?" Well, let's be realistic. That's not how any other sacrifice has ever gone. Okay, you're sacrificing for a political belief that you think there's a better way. Okay, you're not sacrificing because you got to use the front end or you didn't get to use the front end yet. Okay, but we were doing everything we can to show you what the front end looks like. So just keep that in mind. If we had released like a front end for the users to use right now, there's a temporary solution in place of PulseX that just feels weird, and all the prices are not. It would just feel weird. Liquidation points would be weird. Like the amount you put in versus the collateral you take wouldn't make any sense, and it just would be a weird user experience that might actually turn more people off.
Yeah.
Then, we want you to use the protocol when it's done, when it feels good and it's smooth. And it's really hard to do that without PulseX existing right now.
Yeah,
so people need to realize that.
For sure. It's a very good answer, man. Thank you for the thoroughness. Mr. A asked another question here. He says, when exactly will we be able to, oh no, I'm sorry. He goes, which token are you exactly planning to have listed on centralized exchanges? USDL or loan or both? And he didn't add none, but will any of you listed on centralized exchanges? Is there any plans on having USDL on centralized exchanges?
Yeah, we'd like, so here's the thing. Yes, we are in talks with central exchanges. Jexa is very much in tune with some central exchanges. He knows some people, right? With the ultimate goal of having USDL as a quick fiat on and off ramp. Now, I have also been in talks, and our founders have been in talks with an institution who may be able to help with a very quick and efficient fiat on ramp process in the future. Is that part of the code? No, that's a whole separate thing outside of the protocol itself, working through some mechanics on how that would look. There's liquidity pools essentially that have to be stocked, and some things that have to happen, and some code that would have to be written to make it so that people can essentially send, and then an institution gives them fiat that they wire out and stuff. There's a lot of this stuff happening in the background that we try and not like. I don't want to cloud people with more than they need to know at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, absolutely, we will have fiat on ramps at some point in time. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yes. That's exciting to hear. Actually, I'm actually really happy someone asked that question because that was something I actually wanted to know as well. So it's really good. And yeah, it seems like we don't have any more questions just yet. So I'm happy we ran through those. But I do want to get back to what we were talking about, and that's a little bit more in regards to, excuse me, the sacrifice phase. And so we were mentioning the sacrifice phase. I actually want to bring up the sacrifice phase website real quick for us to be able to check that out. Let me go ahead and move this stuff over and open up here Google Chrome. Open new window. And we'll talk a little bit about it. Let's go ahead and show people the sacrifice phase. So I personally have already sacrificed for the liquid loans sacrifice phase. And it was very simple. You guys made it really easy to understand. It's thesacrifice.io for those of you who want to check it out. I would always recommend typing out the link instead of looking on Google or anything like that. You guys don't want to get the incorrect link. It's going to be thesacrifice.io. And currently we're on day 7 with about 18 hours left for the day to end. You guys have all the details that you need to know in regards to the actual sacrifice. So everything from what coins are going to be accepted, okay, what stable coins are going to be accepted, to the wallet that it needs to be sent from, all the way down to how many points per sacrifice you will receive initially, and then more important details and legal information you want to know after that. So here we have information on our multiplier bonus. Once again, we're on day 7. The bigger pays better bonus, the longer pays better bonus, and a very special bonus that I actually want to talk about. The special bonus I want to talk about, the longer pays better bonus. So who came up with that idea, man?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
So some people have accused us of copying sacrifice phase. Well, here's the deal. It works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good model. You convince people to come in early. You reward them for coming in early. And then you reward them for coming in big. Okay? But delayed gratification is a key element of everything we talk about, right? So how do you shore up and help with the longevity of something and get a community that's going to be committed to this thing for 2 years without dumping any potential tokens that people might receive, without just dumping everything on day 1? Well, you convince them to delay their points, right? To delay their gratification. So, we came up with this system where people can lock up. Now, here's what's cool. So check it out. There's an early pays better. Coming in the first 10 days, you're going to get the max points for the early part. Every day after day 10, it goes down by 5%. Okay? That's completely out of your control. It's in time's control.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Right here. So that's drawn
Yeah.
out right here. Let's put that multiplier up for everybody to see.
Right.
Okay.
There's nothing you can do to change that multiplier. If you're on a particular day and that's what the rate is, that's what you get. Okay. But there's also a bigger pays better bonus. Okay. So if you come in bigger, you come in over top of some other wallets, you know, you're going to get a bigger volume bonus than those wallets who are smaller than you. And the volume bonus goes from 1x all the way out to 2.5x. So we saw Godwell came in the other day. He
Yeah.
came in with almost $6 million. Well, he's all the way up at the top of the range, but he's actually got a range. Everybody has a range of multiplier. So his range goes from 2.5 all the way down to whatever it is, like 1.7 or 1.8, whatever it is right now. He's got a big giant range of multiplier. Okay. But then he and anybody else can choose to delay gratification as well. And what does that mean? That means you won't have access to any um, potential free airdrops that might occur. You won't have access to do anything with them, but they will be in the wallet on day one inside of a smart contract.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, whatever it is that's zero value, it will be there on day one. You just won't be able to move it until the time has expired from when you have delayed your gratification or shown your time commitment to your political belief that there's a better
So to
way.
clarify, you will receive the coins, but you won't be able to send them out?
Yeah, they'll just be in a smart contract
Okay.
inside of your wallet.
Awesome.
Right. So you can look at them on the blockchain, explore, or you could go to the Liquid Loans app. You can see, oh, okay, I'm locked up. There they are. It'll tell you the date that it unlocks, and you can do whatever you want with them at that point.
Yeah, I've seen a lot
But
of really cool strategies going on with the longer pays better bonus, and I just thought that was really cool to be able to integrate that. I thought it was really intuitive, and I think
it's a 6% bonus per month that you lock up. And people are showing right now. Listen, we have more locked up for 2 years than we do for coming out immediately. Okay, and then we have everything in between too. We have people coming out on every single month, all the way out to the 2-year mark. And I actually believe that all the people watching this who decide to sacrifice will end up laddering all the way out to the end. That's what people are already doing.
Yeah.
And once day 10 comes around and the rate starts decreasing by 5%, and people go, oh, I'm going to lose my 5%. Well, you can gain that back just by locking up for 1 month with a 6% bonus. So every day you wait, day 2 you wait. Now you're down 10%. However, you can just lock up for 2 months and you get 12% bonus for doing that, right? So what we're going to end up seeing is even after day 10, even after the flat rate has ended and it gets, more expensive to get in, people are still going to keep laddering in and delaying their gratification more and more and more all the way out to the end, even though the rate's decreasing.
Yeah, within the last 2 years. Yeah, that would like push. I mean, so specifically what I'm referring to with the 2-year time frame. So guys, for those of you who don't know how the process works, remember you have anywhere from 0 to 24 months that you can do it. There's no longer time frame that you can do the sacrifice delay for, and so your bonus is going to come 6% per month depending on the amount of stable coin you send and the number after the decimal you place. So if you guys were to decide to delay your gratification in the example here that it says 3 months, then you're going to go ahead and put the amount and then point and then 0.3 anywhere to the 24 months delay you want to create. That's how you pretty much do it. And if for whatever reason you decide to go over because maybe you didn't know or by mistake you do that, well, just know that it'll be 0 months delay and you'll receive it the day of for anyone who goes over that 24 number. So it's pretty clear, but remember, always read it through. And I always recommend to continue to look at this entire page, read the entire page, and watch the video to confirm the actual address you're going to be doing the sacrifice to if you decide to sacrifice for Liquid Loan. So remember, the website is thesacrifice.io. If you guys are watching this and you are interested in learning or interested in sacrificing, guys.
Right.
But yeah, so like I was saying, I really like the delay of the
Let me reinforce something that you said.
I feel like that particularly is really innovative, man, and we will see it in future. I feel like that's something that you guys
Yeah.
created, and we will see it in future sacrifices, bro. That was really, really awesome. And it really can, and it's cool because it gave me a particularly a different way of investing it. So I'll kind of walk you through it. I don't mind sharing this, but as a person who's coming in here, and I do believe in the project, I said, yeah, like I really would like to allocate a certain percentage of what I'm totally going to invest into, and delay that gratification, right? Kind of that same mentality coming in with other projects, right? Like delayed gratification projects. But in this one in particular, I said, wow, I can't believe I could actually do that in this one too before we even get involved. So I actually played that same scenario, that same strategy in my head, allocated some for 6 months and 24 months. And I felt good. It felt really good because I knew that I would have a percentage available on day 0 to stake, right? And then earn passive income in USDL and PLS. And then, of course, I'm going to have the rest of the coins that come out, 6 months, 24 months later, that I'll be able to enjoy a delayed gratification bonus from, and then eventually decide to do whatever I decide to do with those coins in the future. So, yeah, man, just once again, really, really cool addition to the project here. And so we're on day 7, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you guys do your research and find out more about this project because it is doing really, really cool things for Pulse Chain holders in the future. Yeah, no expectations, but let's see how this goes. I'm really excited for it, man. And I have another question for you, man. So, the project itself, right? It seems to be doing really well. Do you guys have any other things that you might have planned over the next couple of weeks as the sacrifice phase goes on that we can be looking forward to?
While the sacrifice phase is going on, any big news
Nothing
or
big, but just
something?
something you can share with us. Is there anything that you think we will gain value from knowing?
Um, well, we're constantly pushing out content.
Yeah.
We're actually going to release a video here very soon, right? So you mentioned early on in the video that there's almost like a divide in the community. Like you have the people who are very scared of anything coming in. They feel like it's an infiltration into the community or something, and they're scared because they're very comfortable with their current holdings, and they think the pulse chain will survive with just that alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's uncomfortable for them that something is here bringing adoption, right? So they question it. But then you have other people that are like super super excited, and we didn't necessarily think that it would cause hexagons, for example, to start infighting. We certainly don't want that.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like it's either one extreme or the other. We're releasing a video today that talks about that and also addresses some of the most passionate questions on one end of the spectrum. The core team is putting that together today. I can't tell you when that'll be ready for release. People have to review that and stuff, but we'll be releasing some content that addresses the most burning questions that some people on the farthest end of the spectrum have.
Yeah. I really like it, man, and I love the fact that people are having these conversations because it shows how much they care at the end of the day. People
Right.
They want to see at the end of the day. I think everybody wants the same thing. They want to see Hex grow. They want to see Pulse Chain grow. They want to see the ecosystem flourish, and essentially all our bags to go up. But the excitement and the back and forth that we're seeing from the community and the conversations we're seeing people have, it's a lot of mixed emotions. It's I feel like it's necessary because it does spark up these conversations, right? It has people like us sitting down and talking about what's going on. But more importantly, it has people doing their own research because there's nothing like a controversy or like or like, for example, like someone who I watch, like a streamer, right? A Hex streamer talking about a project and then maybe saying something about it that makes me want to go out there and actually do my own research, which is something that we all preach, right? And we tell everyone, hey, go do your own research, go find out more. But I think it's opening up that conversation for people to start giving their own opinion because I feel like sometimes one of the worst things you can see in any ecosystem, in any group, is groupthink, right? Where everybody thinks the same and nobody challenges an idea. And
Right.
We're actually seeing a lot of the counter to that, right? We're seeing a lot of people go against stuff and bring up valid points that you need the answers to that honestly just gets us more informed. And all in all, I think we're still moving forward. As a community,
Right.
I think we are moving forward, and people need to realize that, right? More than just people arguing and saying, "Oh, it's good" or "it's bad." We're moving forward. We're making progress. We're figuring these things out, and we're asking the right questions. I'm going to go over a question here we just got in the chat. This is from R23. He goes, "How soon will the protocol be available to use after Pulse Chain launches? Immediately, a month, or more?"
Not immediately. Could be around a month. Could be a little bit more, right? But we have to have PulseX first and foremost. It has to be working. It has to be on the chain, and because like everyone on Ethereum gets this free airdrop, we actually have to see what happens. And is it like gonna be a huge dump, and everyone's gonna just dump, and it's gonna be super volatile, and then you'll see liquidity moving around, and then because of arbitrage bots, a bunch of the liquidity ends up back on Uniswap again. We have to see some stability,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to see which pairs that we can pull price feeds from are the most stable pairs. We have to pick a bunch of those, add those into the code, do the time weighted average thing to them, final test our code and audit our code, and then launch. Okay. So, like, there's an order of events that has to occur. PulseX has to exist, it has to be running smoothly. Then we can do what we need to on our end, do our final testing, finalize the audits, release those, and launch the code. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
how that
that
process
should
works.
answer your question.
Now, we hope that takes a month. It could take a month and a half. But the way things normally go, and we've been guilty of this too. You always hear, "Oh, two more weeks," and then it turns into 3 or 4, and then 2 more weeks. And the same thing has happened with us, right? We were actually going to have our sacrifice phase start a long time ago. And then another surprise sacrifice phase for PulseX came up. And it was like, well, okay, we can wait. So let's go ahead and delay this. No need to rush. And then we just told the community, get ready, for a long time. And we didn't want to release news before the news, right?
Right.
Everyone always wants to know, oh, when are you going to let us know when something's going to happen? When we let you know, right? So listen, we're doing the best we can to keep everybody informed. And like you said, there are things that we have to just say very carefully.
Yeah.
And there's always a reason for that, but we're doing the best we can.
We appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, we have our V here who says, "God will sacrifice 6 million to liquid loans. That makes me feel better." How do you feel about getting that endorsement from the Godwill, man?
He's not the only one. You're gonna see some other wallets come in.
Mm-hmm.
Whales like to compete with each other.
Okay.
I mean, how does it feel? Listen, he's a guy who likes to hold on and never sell.
Yeah.
Which is so he's an ETH Genesis guy. He sold some ETH for USDC. By the way, Godwill, if you're listening, you could have used Liquidity Protocol and taken a loan out against that ETH. And then turn that into USDC and sack that. And then had a double win if you thought that ETH was going to go up in value over time. But anyway, it feels good because the Godwill likes to hold on for a long, long, long time and never sell.
Yeah.
He's proven that with his ETH. He's proven that with his or hers Hex.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's showing that he's willing to do that for this protocol, which means he believes in it.
Yeah.
Right. And he's likely going to use it in some form or fashion. And I'm sure some other whales as well. Right. Well, listen, wherever there's whales, they like to play whale games, and they like to do liquidity plays and do whatever they're going to do. So it just shows faith and commitment that there's people who clearly are looking out for the community for the past 2 years that are now continuing to look out for the community and using this protocol while they do that. It feels good, man.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah, I agree. As a user, it feels great because it's people who you think they know. You have an idea of their education as far as how long they've been in the space, and to see them put their money behind or their financial energy behind a project, it's always cool to know that, you know. And it makes for me, it
Right.
made when I saw it, it made me feel as a sacrificer because I had done it before seeing him do it. It didn't really sway my decision at all, like him being a part of it. I wanted to participate anyway, but seeing the fact that he did, I was like, that's pretty cool. And I know for a fact that, yeah, you're right. Will games probably will start very, very soon. Because, you know, it's really easy to become a whale in comparison to some of the other sacrifices we've seen. You know, there's a lot of opportunity for sacrificers right now to become really big holders of liquid loans. Considering the scale, I mean, the sacrifice phase is around what, 20 million right now?
20 and a half mil.
20.5 mil. So
It'll
imagine, yeah, you
it'll
know,
break through 21 at some point today, I'm sure.
yeah,
But I think there's some big bag holders who haven't come in yet.
yeah. No,
Um,
we still have days.
so
We got days. I mean, well,
yeah,
weeks of the sacrifice phase to go. So,
a lot of people like to wait till day 10. You know what though? I mean, waiting till day 10 doesn't necessarily help you. It doesn't even matter what size you are. If somebody comes in underneath of you, it actually scrunches you up into a smaller range of multiplier bonus that's on the higher end. And so if you had a range of, 1.3 to 1.5, but a whole bunch of people come in underneath of you, now you might have a range of 1.4 to 1.5 for the volume bonus, right? So you actually get more.
mm,
So, like coming in early, people like to watch the number go up. So they ended up, if they come in underneath of you and it stretches you up the list, but then it goes the other way too, right? If you
yeah,
throw in and then a guy comes in on top of you, it just pushes you down the other direction.
true.
So there's so much game theory in this, and then you can delay your gratification, you can ladder your gratification. It's a crazy amount of game theory. It's exciting.
Very. I have a question here from Mister. He says, our lockup period starts from the mainnet launch or the protocol launch?
Protocol, protocol launch.
Protocol launch. And we have a comment here from R23. He goes, as long as the protocol works smoothly, it's better to have a finished product than one with flaws. So take your time. Majority of the community are holders, so I doubt we would mind. That's cool to know. Thanks, R23.
Of course.
And we got Mr. A who goes, great questions and hodl mindset R23. You will go places. I can smell it. We got a really supportive community here, man. I appreciate every single one of you guys commenting. And so I want to ask you another question too in regards to the sacrifice. I saw that the sacrifice phase was very similarly. How can I say this? Like the final date was prolonged to like very similar to like how the pulse chain was, right? Like a little bit. How many days exactly is your sacrifice phase?
30.
30 days, so a little bit bigger than the pulse chain, but smaller than the PulseX sacrifice. What was the decision behind making it a little bit shorter?
Um,
Or was
that
it
was
just let's make it 30?
probably. Well, we certainly thought about it. We went back and forth a lot. 2 weeks, 30 days. 2 weeks, 30 days. And we came up with 30 days. And ironically, after we came up with 30 days, we decided, well, let's push forward with this longer, pays better, delayed gratification thing, which actually works out because as I described before, for every day after day 10, the rate goes down by 5%, but you can delay by a month and get a 6%. So because it's 30 days long, you're going to see 20 days of 5% decrease every day, but you have 24 months worth of a 6% increase every day. So you just put it all together and it's like, well, 30 days just makes sense. This is perfect. Okay. It gives everybody a chance to get in all the way to the end. And it just makes sense, man.
Yeah,
Just makes sense.
I like it. It does make sense. That's good, man. That's some really cool points, Brian. I'm really happy to see that that type of innovation happening here, bro. Because it's crazy. Like every single day, you see more and more stuff coming into the field. And the way I really wanted to take this conversation was in regards to like seeing more projects coming out on Pulse Chain, right? Because at the end of the day, it will help the overall community. What's your stance? Do you feel like more projects on Pulse Chain is going to help the overall innovation of the community, the ecosystem grow?
Yeah, of course. Of course. People aren't going to jump into a chain because of one project or one protocol. All right. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You come over to a chain for the reasons of it being faster, more efficient, better for the better for the environment, cheaper. That's why you come to a chain, but only if it has all the same things that you were using on the chain that you left. It's really hard to get adoption by telling people, hey, there's this better, faster, cheaper chain over here, but it has none of the things that you normally use. It just has the one thing. So if you want adoption, you have to have a lot of things, man. You've got to have the DeFi protocols. You got to have the NFT stuff. You got to have the memes. You've got to have the hex. You've got to have this. You got to have that. Yes, I'm all about all sorts of projects launching on the chain.
And so I wanted to ask you this too. And I actually got to show you the screen here. I don't know if you can see it. Are you looking at the screen through the YouTube live, or are you doing it through your end?
I'm not. I don't see the screen. I see
No,
our
I
feed,
got you.
but
Let me go ahead and share my screen with you then, so you can check this out.
Mhm.
And so what I want to talk to you about. Oh well, actually, yeah. So guys, in the meantime, while I share the screen here with Jesse, he's gonna be frozen. But I want to talk to you about this. You see this, right? The input calculator.
Okay. Yep.
Cool. So I actually wanted to share this with everybody because I saw you speaking on this with a few people. Give me a second. It wasn't you particularly, I'm sorry, but it was a few people that I saw speaking on this. And let me go ahead and change this. Boom, boom. Perfect. And the strategy in regards to having a collateral of 1,000%. Right? Can you explain this a little bit deeper for me, man? I mean, I have nothing here to show. I'm not showing anything. The real question is behind this calculator, right? This calculator. I don't know if this was made in-house. I forgot where it was made. Was this made by you guys?
It was made by a community member.
By a community member, right? I don't know if you've seen
Right.
this before, but so have you heard about this? About the 1,000% collateral strategy?
Yeah.
You have. Okay, can you dive into this a little bit
So
deeper?
so basically, so check it out. This calculator lets you put in, like, if you're curious, what collateral level do I need to put in to keep myself from a certain percentage drop in the price of Pulse? That calculator helps you determine that for yourself. So if you put in an 1,000% collateral, I think the calculator will tell you you can withstand an 89% drop in the price of Pulse, which never happens in a single day, by the way. That happens over several months. It never looks good for a chart, but it does happen over several months. And hopefully with Pulse Chain, it just goes the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like all the other blockchains have done, other blockchains have done a 400x, 250x, 800x, 1200x. There's a 14,000x one, Ethereum. Like they all go up, right? So if Pulse Chain does the opposite of what all the other blockchains have done, then something went wrong. May do that initially, right? Big dump because everybody comes out on day one. There's no delayed gratification for.
Well, who knows what could happen? Let's not even speak that, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, who knows? This thing could go
Right.
straight up.
You never know. Who knows?
Everything is a little bit different. Right.
Right.
The reason why I wanted to talk about
that calculator just helps you determine what the price has to fall to,
yes,
for you to risk liquidation. But also bear in mind, even in a liquidation, you already got all your money up front. People think the word liquidation means you lose everything. That's not the case here. You already got everything. Like, you don't lose everything. You already got everything.
Yeah.
At that price point, you already have that price point in your hand in USDL.
Correct. And so the idea behind, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about here, we're talking about liquid loans. The idea behind liquid loans is to be able to collateralize against your wealth in liquid loans, right? Using this protocol, allowing you to take out a loan against your against what you're collateralizing, in this case, your PLS, for USDL. And so this calculator helps you guys out based on how many coins you have. So let's say you have, 100 million coins, right? And the current price of PLS, let's say it's a penny, right? So if you wanted to take a loan out of, let's say, for example, 100,000, and you wanted to maintain a collateralization ratio of at least 1,000%, then this is the inputs that you would have to have, correct? So you would have to have a total PLS value. So you have a total PLS value of $1 million. You're taking out a USDL loan of about 100,000. I think that would be too much in order to meet the the percentage, but well, not really. So actually, it does give you everything. I don't know why these things come out here sometimes, but pretty much is how it works, ladies and gentlemen. So you put here your PLS tokens. You have 100 million of them. They're worth a penny, and you want to take a USDL loan amount of $10,000. Okay. The important figure is down here where you select your custom collateral ratio. So if you predetermine yourself and you say, I want to maintain a collateral ratio of 1,000%, then the value of PLS in dollars required is 100,000, and the percentage it takes to be liquidated on that PLS is an 89% drop. So this is a relatively very safe, borrowing strategy, which allows you to be essentially, borrowing against your own PLS in the safest way possible. Nobody is safe from liquidations. Remember, this is all your responsibility to be updated based on the price and coming in and checking your vaults constantly to make sure that you are able to refill those vaults and keep those loans appropriate. But this right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'll post this on the I'll figure out how I can get this to you guys. I'll probably put it on the website or in the Discord chat for you guys to be able to get. And so that you guys can go ahead and access this. And so my question to you, Jesse, is the reason why I wanted to show this is what's the importance of having a proper collateralization ratio, brother? If you can really stress that for the viewers who are watching right now.
Yeah, so you want to hold on to your Pulse coin. So, like, if you put your collateralization level too low, like 115%, the price moves against us, 6%, it goes down, you're going to lose your Pulse coin because you already have your USDL up front. At that point, like, you already have your USDL, so you have to lose your Pulse coin. But that's not the goal. The goal is to hold on to your Pulse coin. So you put in more collateral, you put in more dollar value of Pulse than you mint for yourself. So, alternatively, you could put in 200%, 500%, 1,000% collateral, 1,000,000% collateral, whatever makes you feel comfortable, so that your Pulse can, make its value changes, goes up and down, and never hits the point of the value that you already minted for yourself in USDL. That way you get to keep your appreciating value for the rest of eternity.
Correct. And so ideally, guys, use liquid loans. All right, that's my advice. I don't speak for Jesse here, but what I will say is use liquid loans. Right, when it comes out, test it out, see how it works for you. Take a little loan out and get curious, because at the end of the day, we're not teaching you stuff that isn't used by multimillionaires, multi-billionaires. This is already a functioning system, not liquid loans, but the idea of borrowing against your wealth. Right, it's something that a lot of people do. And you want to learn how to use your money in these intelligent ways, do taxes and everything. We're not tax experts, financial experts here, but we're simply giving our opinion on things that we know works when it comes down to keeping as much money as you want to have in your, keeping more money that you're leveraging, right, every single day. And so, yeah, Jesse, I mean, we've gone over a lot in this.
You mentioned taxes. You mentioned taxes.
Taxes, yeah. Give us some information about taxes, brother.
Well, I'm not a tax advisor, but logic says, like, probably most people don't prefer to just give endless money away to taxes. Some people do, right? But most people say, well, how do I keep the majority of my money? And if you never sell your asset, you never realize any gains off of that asset. Okay, if you collateralize against an asset and you receive a loan, that loan is not taxable. It's a loan, just like a loan from a bank. The only difference is you've eliminated some counterparty. You've created a loan against your own asset. And the thing that did that for you was a smart contract. Instead of a bank who had to hand you money and then charge you monthly fees, it was simply a smart contract that said, here are the terms, here's your loan. Okay, this is actually not new to crypto. This has been going on for 3 years now with the Maker protocol. All of the DAI that you see in existence is because somebody collateralized an asset, ETH, vast majority of it's ETH, to mint some DAI. They collateralize ETH, they mint a loan in the form of DAI, and guess what? Those people didn't pay any taxes on that DAI. And then a lot of that DAI ended up in the rest of the ETH ecosystem. And then a lot of it's now been bridged over to other blockchains even. It's all over the place. Okay. Um, Liquid Loans is very similar. It has some things that make it better than the DAI and Maker protocol. I invite people to do their own research and see why that is. Um, Liquidity literally looked at how DAI worked, how all the other protocols worked, and said, we're going to make one that's a lot better. Where they could have done better is the way that they launched. So they had venture capitalists. They launched when ETH was at the top. Um, their user base was very small. It still is small, even though they have $2.5 billion flowing through it right now.
Yeah, they have a lot of money flowing through it.
Right. The average loan over there is $600,000, but I think that's because of the gas fees. It just kills it for people who are smaller that try and use the protocol. Nobody wants to, you know, be earning fees, for example, and click the claim button just to have to pay, $100 gas fee to claim $100 for the fees they just earned. It doesn't make any sense. Um, so it is successful, but the timing of the launch and then the venture capitalist deal, made it look ugly for the price of the token initially. That being said, after the initial dump, it's been following ETH ever since April. ETH goes up in price, it goes up in price. ETH goes down, their token goes down. And 209% return a year for the stakers. That's the average. That's just the average. There's people who have a much higher than that and people who have a much lower than that, depending on the price point that they got in at. So it's insane what this protocol can do. You could use a centralized platform for stablecoin. Go to Celsius as an example, and you can park USDC in there for an 8.5% yield. And you think to yourself, well, that's a good play. If I ever make it to $5 million, for example, you could park that in there and you'd get 400 some $1,000s a year in yield. But it's risky because it's their keys, their coins.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing it for you. And there's risk that comes along with that. You often see centralized platforms that either fold over to a government for some reason, or oops, they lost everyone's money because it's not in your control. It's in somebody else's control. So this protocol allows you to do the same thing. Take a stable coin in the stability pool, park it in a pool, and earn a yield completely trustlessly with no counterparty, right? And the yield over on the parent protocol is much better than Celsius, for example. So instead of 8.5%, you get between a 20 and a 40% yield. So just everything about it is people need to do their own research. Come check it out. Don't miss out.
Agreed, man. And Jesse, I have a question for you, brother. So let's say, for example, right? Because this is something I asked myself, and I was having a discussion with someone I think it was yesterday, and we were talking about, let's say, for example, I want to take a loan on my cryptocurrency. And this is just to see if you have the answer to it. If you don't, it's 100% fine. I take a loan against my cryptocurrency and a collateral using one of these protocols, correct? Let's say I use the parent code with LQTY, right, on ETH.
Right.
Let's say I wanted to present that to my accountant, or I wanted to present something, right, when I cash out that USDL to my account, that it's non-taxable. How can I prove that? Is there a way to be able to prove that I took a loan against my own portfolio?
Yeah, so you have blockchain records that show that you never sold your original asset. You can print the contract if you need to. You can just go to the Blockchain Explorer, pull it up, and print it. And while some of it's in code, you'll see the word, collateral. You'll see the word borrow. It's all over there. You can highlight it all over the place. You can go to the front end and you can print the record of you having taken a loan. Or you could just omit it completely. Because talk to your own advisor, of course, right? But if I get a loan from a bank, that gets omitted. That doesn't go anywhere. You don't report it. When you swipe a credit card, guess what? It doesn't go, you don't report it. It's a loan. You don't report it. You never sold anything. When I can say, if you get some USDL or LUSD from the Liquidity protocol,
Mm-hmm.
and then you send it to Coinbase, right? It'll show it as having been received, but it doesn't know what your cost basis was. You can either completely eliminate it because just delete it, um, because it's a loan, or you can list your cost basis as the same value as you received it, uh, like just because it just zeroes it out. Let's listen. The choice is yours, but it
Yeah.
is literally a loan with no gains when you received it because there's you can't tax it. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to pay taxes on it because, well, then what happens if you're liquidated? You're going to pay taxes on the same money a second time?
Yeah.
No, no, it's a loan, and you have collateral that's backing it.
Cool. And so that data would be what you would show,
All the
right?
data is available on the chain or on the
Perfect.
DApp.
That's what I thought too. But then someone asked me, and I was stumped. And I was like, I mean, the data's there; it's on the chain, but that's good to hear from you, man. Thank you. I'll go ahead and check though. I know that you're not you're not a financial expert, and always check with an advisor. So I'll definitely confirm that. But for those of you who are interested in that, you have an answer. And also, bro, I have a few more questions here. We're approaching about that hour mark. And I think these might be the last questions we're going to be taking. So if you guys are on right now live with us, make sure you send those last questions in for Jesse. We're going to go ahead and send some his way. Let me go and make sure we have some of these here. Mr. A asks, which LL pair, so which liquid loans pair, do you think will have the most liquidity?
Pulse, absolutely Pulse.
Pulse. Perfect. That's pretty
There
simple.
are other protocols. Listen, it's going to be paired to a lot of things. I think it's going to be paired to IM. It's going to be paired to FP. It's going to be paired to Hex. It's going to be paired to whatever the Power City guys are coming up with. It's going to be paired to a lot of things on the chain. But I think the biggest pairing will likely be Pulse itself. And it should be Pulse because of how the protocol works.
Right. All right, here we have another question from Mr. He says, can you discuss some moon math for this loan token? He says, if all sacrificers decide to stake loan and never sell, then the circulating supply will be really less. 1,000x possible?
Well, if Pulse does 1,000x, yes, it is entirely possible that this could do. I don't want to make some maxis out there mad. I don't want to make some maxis out there mad.
Significant.
I really don't want to make some maxis out there mad, but there comes a point in the modeling where when Pulse goes up in price, this goes up in price more. So, and there's a number of reasons for that. Listen, when Pulse isn't being sold and it's locked into vaults, and Pulse is going up in price, the loans get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. A guy who before took a $2,000 loan and Pulse does a 10x, now that guy's like, oh, sweet. No, I'll just take a $20,000 loan or a $50,000 loan or $1 million loan. Listen, the loans are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the fees for those loans, the 0.5% fee, the normal 0.5%, that goes to the stakers. So if Pulse does 1,000x, the stakers are going to be collecting massive, massive fees from people taking massive loans.
Yeah.
And yes, there comes a tipping point where the desire to have that coin, that's the fee earning coin for those fees, outruns the performance of the thing that's being locked up.
And that's shown in the model that tipping point exists.
Say that again?
That's shown in the model that tipping point exists.
We haven't released it. And listen, a lot of it's speculation.
Okay.
You can move the numbers around a lot of different ways, but we do believe if Pulse Chain is successful, this will be successful right alongside of it.
Fire. There you go, Mr. A. You got your answer. Well, I think we should end it off on that note because I think we've talked a lot. And for those people who want to watch part 2, you have enough information to kind of go over everything we've kind of discussed. So we've talked about the sacrifice phase, some updates since part 1, and honestly, the smoothness of the overall sacrifice phase and where we're going right now. So, bro, I wish you and the team the best luck. I really Hope everything turns out great. At the end of the day, no expectations, from the work of others, but we do, at the end of the day, wish the best to you guys and what you guys are, focused on doing for the Pulse Chain community. So thank you guys so much, bro. We appreciate you coming on stream all the time, Jesse. Thank you for answering these questions, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have some final words for anybody in the chat, but if you want, go ahead and share something.
Yeah. So if people have questions, the best way to get your answers quickly, t.me/liquid loans. Go over there. There's dozens of people that will be able to answer your questions, so that you can make an informed decision. The flat rate period is almost over. The sacrifice is a very personal choice for somebody to make. Nobody wants to force you. Yes, we'll tell you all about it, and we'll tell you all about the protocol and anything that you want to know. But when it comes down to sacrifice, it's a very personal decision. If you truly believe that centralized stablecoins and counterparty risk and middlemen is garbage, you may wish to sacrifice for the hopes that a better system will evolve onto the Pulse chain. And you can read about the details behind that at thesacrifice.io. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Jesse. We appreciate you, man. Have a good one. All right, man?
Thanks.
Take care, brother. All right, give me 1 second. I'm about to end the stream. Perfect.